And so this week, I want to talk to you about the problem with time. So many of us, when it comes to doing regular movement, especially when the body is not feeling good a lot of the time, but we know movement is something we need to do, we get stuck with trying to find the time. And I think that because we know that there's this overlapping kind of population of people pleasers and perfectionists and critical people, and the population of chronic pain sufferers, also just women in general. But because we know that it's just very common for people who are people pleasers to also have chronic pain, I see time and time again that the main obstacle for most people who really want to get active with the movement practice is the fact that they simply tell me they cannot find the time. So I just really encourage you to do a realistic inventory. And the end of the year is a really great time to do this. I don't believe in New Year's resolutions or that you somehow magically need to create some sense of a deficiency of the person you were 3 days ago so that you can work on something. I don't believe in setting up those expectations or anything like that. However, I do really enjoy at the end of the year because there's like a lull in activity, and often like an ability to kind of have a little distance from your day to day to be able to take an inventory of what worked this year and what did not. What are the things that really filled my cup, and what are the things that are serving me, and what are the things that have not been serving me? And I would encourage you, especially if you are someone who is struggling to find time for a movement practice, to really look at the way that your time gets filled. And I think there's a few things that happen. First of all, we tend to underestimate the time it takes to do some of the things that we need to do. Like people say, "Oh, I just need to take care of the meals." Well, what does that really mean? That probably means some amount of going grocery shopping, maybe every few days or once a week. And then there's, some amount of meal planning and prepping and, then the cooking and then the cleaning and all those things. And hopefully you're sharing these if you have other people in your family, in your home. But yeah, I think it's really helpful to actually go through the exercise of looking at your schedule and actually blocking out, in in a perfect world, these are the things that I would do with my schedule. And then very quickly you can see oh yeah, I have not left any time for anything but the three things I'm responsible for. And then it becomes a question of how do I get back my time? Um, so there's a problem of underestimating the time that it takes to do things. I think that we also have a tendency to, if you're a people pleaser, have a hard time saying no to things people ask for. So then there's like the guilt associated with feeling like you have to do a thing and you can't not do a thing. And it's very easy to be so eager to get rid of the feeling of guilt that you then kind of neglect the value of the thing that you are going to do that makes you feel good because you're so busy trying to avoid the thing that makes you feel bad. And so I think that that's something we need to be mindful of as well. And then I just think, yeah, if you're used to having an accountability, that is built around other people's needs, then having accountability structures in place that allow you to show up for something, a commitment that you make to yourself, it can always feel like, well, it doesn't matter, I can do it tomorrow. And this is where I also think getting into a habit of my movement practices a few days a week is problematic because it's very easy to be like, well, I didn't work out today, I'll do it tomorrow. But I really, my from my experience, it has to be a daily thing, even if it's like five minutes a day. It has to be a habit, a practice, a thing that you dedicate time to and energy to, and focus to. And so, as I was saying, we want to figure out how do we get back the time that you need. Now, hopefully, you can get back a few minutes by realizing that if you're overscheduled and figuring out how to remove the things that are not necessary, either things that you can share with others or things that you can maybe outsource. If you're in a position to buy back your time by hiring someone to do something, or share a task with someone else. And then there's the question of figuring out how to get the people who are in your life who are also making demands in your time to understand what is actually with why this movement practice matters to you and why it needs to be at the time that it needs to be at. And most of that is just because of it's much easier to do a thing if we do it at, the same time every day than to try and sort of arbitrarily stick it in when it feels like it's going to fit. Um, so yeah, I just want to encourage you as we get into this slower period of the year to do an audit of the way your time is spent and make sure that you are not postponing the very thing that would actually add time to your life in the long run, which is to have a dedicated regular movement practice. Um, so, yeah, hope that helps and see you next week.